Margaret Reynolds had spent 30 years working at Lancaster's Diner, a small-town eatery that had once been the heart of the community in the charming town of Evergreen. Over the years, the diner had become a place where locals gathered for hot coffee, hearty meals, and friendly conversation. But recently, the atmosphere had changed. New rules and strict management had turned the once warm establishment into a cold and unwelcoming place. At the helm of this transformation was Ethan Carter, the young and arrogant manager who prioritized efficiency over empathy. To him, the diner was a business, and compassion was a liability. No exceptions, especially not for the needy. But Margaret, with her kind heart and unwavering belief in kindness, continued to defy the harsh environment Ethan created. One chilly October evening, as the diner neared closing time, the door creaked open, letting in a gust of cold wind. A homeless man stepped inside, his clothes tattered and his face hidden beneath a scruffy beard. He looked around hesitantly, clearly seeking warmth and shelter from the cold. The few remaining customers glanced at him with discomfort, but Margaret felt a pang of sympathy. As she cleared a nearby table, she approached the man with a warm smile. "Sir, are you all right?" she asked gently. The man hesitated, his voice hoarse as he replied, "I just need something to eat. I don't have any money, but I can do some dishes if that helps." Margaret's heart ached at his desperation. She knew the rules: no free meals. But in that moment, she couldn't let the man go hungry. "You sit tight, dear. I'll get you something warm," she said, guiding him to a booth in the corner. She swiftly grabbed a bowl of chicken soup and a fresh slice of bread, placing it in front of him. The man's hands trembled as he picked up the spoon, staring at the food as if it were a lifeline. Just as Margaret felt a sense of satisfaction, Ethan appeared behind her, arms crossed and face twisted in disgust. "What do you think you're doing?" he spat, his voice sharp. "You're feeding a freeloader." Margaret turned, startled. "He's just hungry, Ethan. It's one meal." Ethan shook his head, his expression darkening. "This isn't how it works. This is a business, not a charity." Margaret's stomach twisted. "So we just let people starve?" "Yes." Ethan snapped. "If they can't pay, they don't eat. That's the rule." The diner had fallen silent, all eyes on the confrontation. Margaret refused to back down. She turned to the homeless man, who had stopped eating and was now watching them closely. "It's okay, dear. Finish your food," she encouraged. Ethan's face turned scarlet. "That's it," he shouted, stepping forward and ripping the apron off Margaret's waist. "You're done. You're fired." Gasps rippled through the diner. Margaret's heart sank. 30 years of hard work and dedication were being thrown away in an instant. "You can't be serious," she whispered, but Ethan sneered, "Oh, I'm dead serious. You're too soft and too old-fashioned. Get out." The words cut deeper than any knife. Margaret looked back at the homeless man one last time. He was still watching, his eyes filled with curiosity and concern. Taking a deep breath, she walked out into the rain that had started to fall, feeling the weight of loss heavy on her shoulders. Back in her tiny apartment, Margaret pressed her back against the door, trying to process the wave of emotions crashing over her. She felt erased, useless for the first time in decades. Tears burned her eyes, but anger surged within her. Ethan Carter was a cruel man, and the fact that he had power over people's lives was infuriating. What hurt the most was the absence of Mr. Lancaster, the owner, who had let this happen without intervening. The next morning, Margaret awoke to a profound emptiness. For the first time in 30 years, she had no place to be. A knock at the door startled her from her thoughts. On the welcome mat lay a manila envelope with her name scrawled in bold black ink. Inside was a letter from Mr. Lancaster, asking her to meet him at the diner at noon. Her heart raced. Did he know what had happened? Was he going to reprimand her further? As she arrived at Lancaster's diner, the atmosphere felt off. The usual lively chatter was replaced with a heavy silence, and every employee seemed on edge. Suddenly, the door to the office swung open, and Ethan emerged, looking pale and shaken. He stormed past Margaret without a word, and she felt a sense of foreboding. Inside the office, Mr. Lancaster was waiting, his sharp features framed by silver-streaked hair. "Sit, Margaret," he said, his voice calm yet commanding. "You didn't serve a homeless man last night." Margaret's breath caught in her throat as he leaned forward. "That man was me. I disguised myself to see how my employees treated those in need." A silence fell between them. "While you showed kindness, Ethan revealed a complete lack of humanity," Mr. Lancaster continued. Her mind raced. This had been a test all along, and Ethan had failed. Mr. Lancaster sighed. "I made a mistake leaving Ethan in charge. Clearly, I was wrong." "What now?" Margaret asked, her heart pounding. "I want you to be the new manager," he said, a smile forming on his lips. Margaret's breath caught again. The very place where she had been thrown out was now offering her a chance to lead. She searched Mr. Lancaster's face for any sign of deception but found only sincerity. "I accept," she said, determination flooding her. As she stepped out of the office, the staff exchanged glances of disbelief and hope. Margaret understood the challenge ahead. Some were excited while others were skeptical. Change can be daunting, but she was ready to prove herself. The first staff meeting was crucial. Margaret stood before her team, her voice steady. "I know this transition is difficult. This diner was built on kindness, not fear, and that's what we'll bring back." Slowly, heads began to nod. She announced new policies: no more punishments for small mistakes, flexible breaks, and leftover food donations. The atmosphere began to shift as her team rallied around her, their doubts slowly melting away. Just when things seemed to be improving, a wealthy man entered the diner, demanding immediate attention. Margaret sensed his entitled demeanor and stepped in to help Charlie, a timid waiter who had always been a target of Ethan's ridicule. Margaret approached the man with confidence. "Sir, we'll prepare your meal with care, but it will take the usual time." Surprisingly, he chuckled, accepting her terms. Margaret felt a wave of relief wash over her as she regained control. However, just as Margaret thought the worst was behind her, chaos erupted. Bad reviews flooded online platforms, accusing the diner of poor service. Margaret's heart sank as she recognized Ethan's handiwork. He was trying to destroy her and everything she had worked for. Determined to fight back, Margaret enlisted the help of Riley, a tech-savvy teenager who worked part-time. Together, they crafted a plan to counter the negative reviews by inviting food bloggers and local influencers for a grand reopening event. The day of the event arrived, and the diner buzzed with excitement. Margaret stood by the register as customers poured in, her heart steady with purpose. As expected, Ethan showed up, dressed casually to blend in but clearly waiting for his moment. Margaret seized the opportunity, using the diner's old television to play footage that would expose Ethan's sabotage. The room fell silent as she revealed Ethan tampering with food and making calls to the health department. Gasps filled the diner as Ethan's face turned ghostly pale. Before he could react, police officers entered, arresting him for attempted fraud and food safety violations. The diner erupted in applause, and Margaret felt a wave of triumph wash over her. "Thank you," she said to her team, pride swelling in her chest. They had come together, proving that kindness and integrity could triumph over cruelty. In the weeks that followed, Lancaster's diner flourished. Customers returned, drawn not just by the food but by the story of resilience and community. Margaret had become a local legend, embodying the spirit of kindness and leadership. As she stood behind the counter, watching her team work together, she realized that she was not just serving meals, she was building something that mattered. She initiated community outreach programs, inviting local schools to participate in cooking classes and encouraging her staff to volunteer at nearby shelters. Margaret's compassion resonated throughout Evergreen. The diner transformed into a hub of activity, where people from all walks of life could gather, share stories, and enjoy a good meal. Margaret felt a sense of pride watching her team flourish, each member stepping up and taking ownership of their roles. But as the diner thrived, Margaret remained vigilant. She knew that Ethan was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike back. She had to be prepared for anything. One afternoon, as she was closing up the diner, Margaret received a call from Riley. "Margaret, you won't believe this," he said, excitement bubbling in his voice. "I found a post on a forum where someone is planning to spread rumors about the diner again. They're saying we're serving expired food." Margaret's heart raced. "We need to act fast, Riley. Can you trace where it's coming from?" "I'm on it," he replied, determination evident in his tone. With Riley's help, they quickly devised a plan. Margaret called an emergency meeting with her staff. "We're facing a new threat," she announced, her voice steady. "But we've overcome challenges before, and we'll do it again. We need to show our customers that we are transparent and committed to quality." The team rallied around Margaret's leadership. They organized a community event, inviting everyone to tour the kitchen, meet the staff, and see the high standards they maintained. They even offered free samples of their best dishes, encouraging patrons to take a closer look at the food being served. The day of the event arrived, and the diner was buzzing with activity. Families lined up outside, excited to see what Lancaster's diner had to offer. Margaret felt a sense of camaraderie as she watched her team interact with customers, sharing laughs and stories. As the event progressed, Margaret noticed a familiar face lurking at the edge of the crowd. Ethan had returned, his expression filled with disdain. He was clearly trying to stir up trouble, but Margaret was ready. She had anticipated his presence. "Let's keep the focus on our guests," she whispered to her team, determined to maintain the positive atmosphere. She refused to let Ethan's negativity overshadow their hard work. Just as she was about to address the crowd, Ethan stepped forward, attempting to disrupt the event. "What's this? A publicity stunt?" he sneered. "You think this will save you?" Margaret took a deep breath, stepping up to the microphone. "This diner is built on community, respect, and quality. We're not afraid to show you who we are. If you have questions, I'm here to answer them." The crowd erupted in applause, rallying behind Margaret. Ethan's face darkened as he realized he was losing control. With a defiant glare, he turned and stormed out, his anger palpable. As the event continued, Margaret felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had turned the tide, transforming the diner into a symbol of resilience and hope. The community had come together, and she knew they would continue to stand strong against any challenges that lay ahead. In the following weeks, Lancaster's diner thrived more than ever. Margaret's leadership had fostered a sense of belonging among the staff and customers alike. They were no longer just employees, they were a family, united by their shared values. As Margaret watched her team work together, she reflected on how far they had come. The diner had become a safe haven for those in need, a place where kindness reigned supreme. And in that moment, she realized that her battle was not just for the diner, it was for the heart of the community. Margaret knew that as long as they upheld the values of compassion and integrity, Lancaster's diner would continue to flourish, standing as a testament to the power of kindness and resilience in the face of adversity. And no one, not even Ethan Carter, could ever take that away from her.